Hello, I'm Caroline Pennock.
And I'm Olivia Longson.
We're here to talk about something that not many people feel comfortable with discussing.
We're going to talk about suicide, and more specifically suicide on college campuses.
We want to teach you effective ways to prevent suicide, but first, we will bring to your attention how much of a problem it really is.
The reason many people don't see suicide as a large problem is because most of those affected don't talk openly about it because it is a very personal and sensitive subject. However, this problem is much bigger than we have previously known. Every 16 seconds, one person in the United States commits suicide. That totals up to 90 people a day. When I first heard the statistic, I was in shock. I couldn't simply wrap my head around that. On college campuses, this problem is just as present, with 2 students committing suicide every day, which amounts to a total of 1,000 deaths per year.
Imagine if you were sitting in a class on a college campus with 50 other students. 5 of those students would have already made a plan for how they are going to commit suicide. 20% of all students who have made a plan to attempt suicide follow through with their first plan or attempt more than once.
A reason why this number may seem so shocking is because they are not commonly heard. Suicide is a real silent killer. You occasionally hear about several stories of suicide on the news, or will maybe see a post about it on social media. But other than that, there is nothing. It is a subject that we just don't talk about. One thing that is changing, this is the new TV show called 13 Reasons Why. If you haven't heard about this or haven't watched the show, then I could bet you may have heard of it. But if not, we're going to give you a short summary.
It's a story about a girl in high school who committed suicide and left behind 13 tapes of her talking. On these tapes, she listed 13 people and how they were the reason she killed herself. As awful as the show is, and as gruesome as it may seem, it got people talking. It is still undecided if it is helping people or hurting people through their problems, but it is a start to start people talking about it. If we were to ask you what you believe to be the most common way people commit suicide in college, what would you guess? Drug overdose, bleeding out, suffocating? Well, during our research, we found that firearms are the most common tools used to commit suicide. All who own firearms should conceal them safely to help those suffering from depression and anxiety from having tools to commit suicide.
One college student shared her story. Her name is Elizabeth Hawksworth. She had never suffered from mental illness or depression before college. Once she started college, everything changed for her. She received her first D on a paper, and this was the start of her challenges with depression, anxiety, and hopelessness. She had friends in college, but she never wanted to be the person with problems. So in fear of being different, she never told anyone. She used cutting herself as a coping mechanism and soon found it was the only way to distract herself and make herself feel better. She mentioned how she would look forward to Thursday beer nights for her campus because everyone in the dorms would leave and she would have the campus to herself. She wouldn't go out, she would stay there. And this way no one could see what she was going through. So every Thursday night, she would use her Swiss Army knife and cut herself. Elizabeth said, "Cutting was a way to control the raging emotions and guilt inside me, but it soon became a full-time coping mechanism." Just like many teens and college students, Elizabeth was not taught proper coping strategies.
She continues with her story and mentions one particular Thursday night where she was planning on taking her life. She thought she was alone when a friend came to check on her and asked her if she wanted to go for a smoke. She claims that this offer of going outside saved her life. After that Thursday, she realized that she needed professional help, and she got it at her college campus, at her college counseling center. With help of a counselor, medication, and an extremely empathetic support from her friends and family, she was given the help she needed to get her life back in order.
Later in her life, she talked to those friends, and she learned that her and another had noticed something was up with her. She had stopped taking care of herself, she skipped meals, and she was not dedicated to attending class, and she didn't often go. Although her friends didn't want to accept that the state that Elizabeth was in, Both of them decided to frequently check on her and eventually saved her life because of it.
Proper coping mechanisms are essential to learn in order to prevent suicide. These are simple but can make the difference of life and death in these situations. It is very helpful having parents or close acquaintances help teach you these from your early ages. The sooner you practice these, the more likely they are to stick with you through your hard times. Although you may not be going through currently or expect to deal with problems with depression and anxiety, you need to be ready for anything that might come your way. Elizabeth never dealt with anxiety or depression and had no indication that she eventually would. She changed with her changing conditions, and her mental state was not ready for that change. She did not know how to act anymore, and since she did not know how to deal with this change, she almost lost her life.
Some of the most helpful and healthy coping mechanisms are exercise, journaling, meditating, volunteering, talking, deep breathing, and practicing gratitude. All of these include self-healing methods of working through your problems.
Oftentimes, I find myself writing in my journal during my hard times or during my good times, but it is a time for me to go through what's going right in my life and what's going wrong. And a lot of the times, it's helpful to go back to past things that I've written to see how I've dealt with problems before and to see if that will help me deal with my current problems.
As much as I wish I could do that like Caroline, so I could go back and read stuff, I just don't have enough self-discipline. But I do like to talk to people, and I like to talk about my problems because it just helps me get through it, and it's my way of coping.
Some people also enjoy exercising, and although they may not like the actual exercising part of it, the science behind exercising is releasing endorphins, which in return makes you feel better. And what we're just trying to get at is if you have something that makes you happier, helps you work through things, that's what's going to help you get through your hard times. If you don't like exercising or if writing in your journal stresses you out, then just move on to something new.
Those who are outside of these issues need to be especially aware of those around them and the seriousness of this problem. Those being affected by depression, stress, and suicidal thoughts should not go through these things alone. We need to help them feel comfortable with talking about it. We need to be noticing these things and reaching out to them and help them and teach them, and we need to be able to learn these coping mechanisms for ourselves so that we can help someone when they need it.
We aren't asking those affected to walk around and tell everyone their problems, but we are asking that they be addressed. If someone confronts you about their thoughts they've been having or what they've been dealing with, don't freak out. Remember the positive coping mechanisms and help them work through their problems. If we remember these things, then we can fight the problem of suicide and hopefully start decreasing those numbers.
Don't run away from these things. They're not that scary. You can help save a life. Thank you.